morning, traders. I am Emily Vani, the CEO of the Investment Banking Institute and your host here at NewsWare's Trade Talk. Joining me is trading anchor Bill Olson, who brings more than 30 years of institutional trading experience to our program. At Trade Talk, we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Today is Monday, August 11th. Investors anticipate the latest reading on inflation this week and will continue to sift through earnings. This as markets ended higher on Friday because of bolstered bets on an upcoming Fed rate cut. During regular trading, all three major indices closed in the green, with the Nasdaq notching a record win. The Nasdaq added 207 points, or about 1%, to end at 21,450 points. The Dow also advanced 207 points, or about 0.5%. The S&P 500 gained 49 points, or just more than 0.75%. But let's get into a new weekend Monday with what is happening in the markets this morning.
Hi, yes, good morning, Emily. I'm watching the S&Ps. I mean, we are positive. We're up 0.19%, so call it 0.2%. Slight gains, but, this is an important week for the market because there's a number of, catalysts. The near-term catalyst is a trade deal with China because it's set to expire tomorrow. Now, the expectations are that the White House is going to kick the can down the road and they're going to extend the current trade deal for another 90 days. Then on Friday, President Trump is going to be in Alaska. He's going to be meeting with Russian President Putin on a potential end to the hostilities in Ukraine. There's going to be a lot of volatility around that story. Especially next week, because when we find out what the deal or what the talks are about, if they were successful or not. On the economic front, it's all about the inflation data releases this week. And tomorrow you get that key CPI release. That's going to really set the tone for a possible rate cut in September. Intel, hey, remember Friday? President Trump said he thinks that the CEO of Intel should be removed. Well, the CEO of Intel is going to be meeting with President Trump today at the White House. That could be interesting. President Trump's also expected to hold a press conference today at 10 a.m., but that's going to be on law enforcement in D.C., so I'm not expecting anything real, but I got to pay attention to it because whenever he's in front of a camera or a microphone, other things come out. NVIDIA and AMD, this is interesting. They have agreed to pay the U.S. government 15% of their revenue from sales of certain AI chips to China as a condition for securing export licenses. Interesting. On the economic calendar today, it's light. On the earnings front, hey, we got a couple of good earnings reports coming out this week. CAH, Cardinal Health, CoreWeave, CRWV, Kava, CAVA, Brinker International, ticker EAT, Cisco Systems, CSCO, NetEase, NTES, JD.com, ticker JD, Deere & Company, ticker DE, AMAT, Apple, Michael, Apple, Tom, and Flower Foods, FLO. They're all expected to release this week. So we got to keep an eye on that for some potential movements in the markets on those releases. Now we're taking a look over Europe. We're seeing what's happening in Europe. The DAX is down about 28 points or 0.12%. Defense stocks are lower as you get, which is kind of expected because if there is a de-escalation in hostilities with Ukraine, the defense stocks should move a little lower. The FTSE, on the other hand, is higher. It's up by 30 points or 0.33%. Pharma stocks are gaining while energy stocks are underperforming. And the CAC in Paris is down 0.22%. Healthcare is positive. Defense stocks are lower. Turning our attention over to Asia and the Nikkei. The Nikkei was closed for a national holiday. But Hong Kong it was up almost 0.2%, 47.99 points. What can I say? There was a change in property rules in Beijing, which was a benefit for property stocks traded in Hong Kong. Beijing, is no longer has these restrictions on citizens of Beijing purchasing suburban homes for purchase, so they can own 2 or more homes. In China, the market was up 12 points or 0.34%. They're focused on, the trade truce between China and the U.S., which we should know in 24 hours. We'll see how that goes. And we're taking a look at oil, and oil turned. Oil was lower this morning. Oil was down, about half a percent. Now they're trading up half a percent. You got WTI at $64.23, up 0.55%. You got Brent at $66.96, up 0.56%. So yeah, oil is gaining this morning. As markets are eyeing, they're really going to be moving on that Russia Ukraine US news. So we got to keep on that for movement in oil all week long, Emily.
Bill, a number of things to be watching as we kick off a new week here. As you mentioned, we're watching things coming out of the White House. Of course, we're continuing to track trade deals. And also throughout the week, we're going to be watching those economic events and these earnings reports. As you mentioned, you're light on the economic front today, but a number of earnings to take note of. So we will start there. Bill, what is going on in terms of earnings action?
Yeah, there was a couple out there this morning on Monday.com, MNDY, Michael, Nancy, David Yellow. They beat by 23 cents. They did it on higher revenue. The guidance wasn't good. And you look at the stock, it's down 14.13% this morning. And then you got C3AI, ticker AI, Apple India. They kind of did a pre-announcement. They reported preliminary Q1 revenue of 70.2 to 70.4 million. Well, the street estimate was 99.9 million. So C3AI, ticker AI, Apple India, that's down 32% this morning. It's just getting hit. Upcoming tomorrow morning, you got eToro Group, that's ticker ETOR, Elvis Tom, Oscar Richard, their EPS is 49 cents, expected move is 12.46%, and Cardinal Health, ticker CAH, Charlie Apple Henry, their EPS is $2.03, expected move is 5.24% when they release tomorrow morning, Emily.
Watching those earnings, and you're also watching economic events. And even though today starts off slow, we both mentioned it, investors are looking ahead to tomorrow's inflation reading, which is going to be a key catalyst this week. So, Bill, what is going on in terms of the day's economic events?
Yeah, that's like the calendar's like that. There's nothing really going on in terms of key economic reports being released today. But tomorrow you get that CPI data, and it's really on watch. I mean, a cool reading could, stoke talk for a 50 basis point rate cut. I mean, the estimates are for the headline inflation to accelerate to 2.8, which would be a 5.5 month high. The core would reach, 3%. But if it's cool in any way, you could see, people start pricing in a 50 basis point cut in that September meeting, Emily. So that's what we got to, keep an eye on is tomorrow's CPI report.
That will be widely anticipated, and we'll be following that using our NewsWare and our economic alerts, just as we are following those earnings reports with our earnings alert. And then, Bill, every morning you are breaking down other data, news, and information into different buckets. You're using your alerts to watch things like merger news, guidance news, shareholders meetings, buyback news, and catalyst calls. You're watching your stocks group together like your FANG stocks and your Dow 30 stocks. So, Bill, what else do you see is possibly moving the markets today?
I'm just doing a quick data check this morning. I'm looking at my Dow stocks, and it looks positive. I mean, I got 26 higher and 4 lower, so I do like to see that. I'm looking for some of the news behind the tape this morning, and it's a little light. I mean, Meta is said to be spearheading work on a new version of its Llama, the company's large language model. That's interesting. I mean, you look at the Meta this morning. It's up about 0.2%, similar to where the S&Ps are at. Tesla, they recently increased the wait times for the Model Y. Model Y is their best-selling unit. They increased it to 4 to 6 weeks, which that's a sign of positive demand. But think about it. This is the last quarter for those federal tax credits, so I'm not too surprised to see a little increase in an uptick in orders coming in. What else? Paramount Global, this is kind of related to Netflix. Paramount Global got won the rights for UFC fights, PARA. In terms of Dow Jones 30 stocks, NVIDIA and AMD agreed to pay 15% of their revenue from chip sales to China. That's a big one. Walt Disney, it's all about the weekend box office. I mean, Disney had 2 movies out. They had Freaky Year Friday and Fantastic Four, which combined, gave them 55 million in ticket sales, which isn't bad. It's respectable. J.P. Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon, ticker JPM. He wants the company to be the biggest lender in the southern states. Remember, he did that bus tour last week of a lot of the southern states to try and drum up opportunities. terms of merger news, Rumble, ticker RUM, they're thinking over a $1.17 billion all-stock deal for Northern Data. IMXI, India Michael X-Ray India, Western Union to acquire International Money Express for $500 million. Look at it, guidance news, Monday.com. Oh man, they narrowed their guidance to 1.22 billion to 1.23 billion. The street estimates 1.22. So they lowered the top end. That's not good. That's why the stock's getting hit today. In terms of shareholders meeting, Monroe Muffler, MNRO, they're having a shareholders meeting today at 10 a.m. Live Ramp, ticker RAMP, Richard Apple, Michael Paul, they're holding a shareholders meeting today at 2:30 p.m. In terms of Catalyst call, NXDR, Nancy X-Ray, David, Richard, Citibank opened up a 90-day Catalyst watch on Nextdoor Holdings. That's what I have for you about news hitting the tape this morning, Emily.
This is the type of data that NewsWare delivers daily. It's factual, it's market moving, and our alerting functions bring it to your attention as it happens. Go to www.newsware.com now and sign up for the trial and see for yourself the benefits that professional Newswire delivers. We've now made it to that time of the show for the Trade Talk pick of the day. But what do you have for us to kick off this week?
I'm going to go with eToro, ticker ETOR. Elvis, Tom, Oscar, Richard. Elvis, Tom, Oscar, Richard. Earnings are out tomorrow morning. EPS is 49 cents. Expected move is 12.46%. If you look at Friday's call volume, 498 calls traded to 229 puts. Then you look at the open interest, 18,978 to 7,412. That's all positive. And major brokers are, starting to initiate ratings that they're coming out neutral to positive. I mean, the price targets are showing that the stock has room to run, so that's nice to see. In terms of an entry price, I'm gonna say 58 to um, 58.25. I'll say 58.25, give or take 25 cents. That's kind of what I like. 58.25, give or take 25 cents. That's where I think a good entry point will be. But I think eToro could easily make that 1% before the earnings are released tomorrow, and it's a good one to watch. Elvis, Tom, Oscar, Richard. That's my pick of the day, Emily.
We will certainly follow that one along with you today, returning to an earnings play today. And coming up, we'll take a quick look back on Friday and that pick of the day, so stick with us. But first, let's take a look at the current breaking headlines that have hit the tape in our Hot Off the Press segment. Bill, take it away.
WLDS, Wearable Devices, secures U.S. patent for neural interface technology. Xerox CEO John Bruno departs, Louis Pasteur succeed. GlaxoSmithKline Beckham, GSK, they get the FDA acceptance for priority review of a new supplement NDA. Dole Foods, they back their full year 2025 maintenance CapEx view of 100 million. I mean, I'm always scared of these food companies. They go public, and then they fall apart later on. Got to be careful with them. China detained the senior diplomat who aided U.S. relations. Avaris, NVS, and Roche, Swiss leaders are discussing the tariff situation with those companies. That's what I see this morning, Emily.
Okay, Bill, before we dive into a new week of trading, let's do that check-in on Friday's pick of the day, which was Johnson Controls, ticker JCI. You did make this call after the company set a $5 billion accelerated stock buyback, and you were looking for under $105 as an entry point, Bill. How did your call work out?
It worked okay. It worked out okay. It was a winner. I mean, just not a stellar winner. It wasn't one of these 10, 15% winners, but I didn't think it was going to be in the beginning. But the stock opened up at 105.03. Now, I was saying 104.70-ish. And the stock did fall down to 104.50 in the first like 15 minutes of trading. Then it just ran. It ran all the way up to 105.98. So that's better than the 1% goal. And it closed at 105.55. So even if you got it in at the opening price, it was positive. It was a 0.5% winner. It wasn't a full percent winner, but either way, it was positive. So JCI, I'm calling it a winner on Friday, Emily.
Bill, you can't get the big wins every day. A win is a win, and consistency is key there. We will put a check in the win column, and we will check in with you tomorrow about today's eToro pick of the day. Bill, thank you as always for your expert insight. Join us back here tomorrow and each weekday morning this week at NewsWare's Trade Talk when we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Again, I'm your host, Emily Advani, here with trading anchor Bill Olson. Traders, you know what to do. Let's go out there and make some green.